Yo, what's cracking, y'all? It's Warbux, aka Buxaburn, a hoodlum West here, and today I want to address one of the common questions that a lot of people ask about hip-hop, which is, where does hip-hop come from? And my answer to that is a very rarely heard answer. What I have to say to this question is that the first and second generations of hip-hop come from the sons and daughters of the Vietnam War. Again, the first and second generations of hip-hop, the people who produced hip-hop music, are the children of the American soldiers that fought in the Vietnam War. Now, every war produces a certain type of music. After World War I, there was blues and jazz, came blues and jazz. After World War II came doo-wop and rock and roll. After World War II, we had the Korean War. And then after the Korean War, there was 5 or 6 years of peace. After this 5 or 6 years of peace came the love-making R&B music of Motown Records. Now, during this Motown Records run, the Vietnam War started. And after the Vietnam War, when those American soldiers came back from Vietnam War and had children, these children were the children who produced what we know today as hip-hop, aka rap music. Now, I'm gonna give you a few characteristics of the Vietnam War, and you can see how they actually equal, or they actually coincide with what we know as gangster rap, the most influential subgenre of the genre that we know as hip-hop. Now, the Vietnam War was a war of guerrilla warfare. It was a war of on-site tactics, which is what we also have in gang territories here in America. Guerrilla warfare is on-site. The Vietnam War, they used hit and run tactics. Again, they used hit and run tactics. Doesn't that sound a lot like a drive-by shooting? Hit and run tactics. The Vietnam War, the front lines of Vietnam, where the borderline stopped and ended, they were unclear. The lines were blurred. That's a lot like the inner city gang territories here in America. You don't really know where one set ends and the other set begins, or they might blur into each other. They might leak into each other. They're right next door to each other. These are some of the characteristics of the Vietnam War that also look just like the characteristics of what we know as hip-hop culture here in America. Now, speaking of cities, you know, my city of Santa Ana definitely has a direct connection to the Vietnam War. A lot of those soldiers that fought in Vietnam, or a lot of the people that lived in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, they came to Santa Ana, they came to Orange County, they came to Westminster, so much that they have their own little part here in Westminster, here in Orange County, which kind of borderlines Santa Ana and Westminster. It's called Little Saigon, right? And I used to run with a Vietnamese gang back in the 90s for a short amount of time, and I seen these children of a war-torn country. I seen them get down. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people open up an M16 on Fairview, broad daylight. You know, so I grew up with a lot of Vietnamese living right here in Santa Ana. I grew up eating Vietnamese. Some of my best friends are Vietnamese. I also went to school with the Cambodians who live over there off of Minnie Street. And if you know about Minnie Street and you're from Santa Ana, then you know the language I speak. So a lot of these characteristics, a lot of these things that happen in Vietnam also happen over here in America. This is why I say the sons and daughters, the children of the American soldiers that fought in Vietnam are the sons and daughters who produced what we know as hip hop. So this is why years ago, I came up with lyrics that sounded like, that's the wrong thought, I buck on spot and drop an onslaught, it's on hot. Like them kids little Saigon got, still the thickest of blood, sickest with love, when war wanna murder than does, get this to cuz. So, you know what I'm saying, as you can hear some of the lyrics and some of the ways and the stances that us American children were taking, the cause and effect of the Vietnam War definitely had a great influence on what we know as American hip-hop, rap music culture. This is why also you see me in this hat right here, this hat with this red star. This is a army cap of the Southern Republic of Vietnam. The Southern Republic of Vietnam is the part of Vietnam that the American Army was allied to versus North Vietnam, which was the communist part of Vietnam. So anyway, not to get all historical on you, but you know, I just came here to drive in the point that one thing's for sure, the first and second generations that produce what we know as hip hop are the sons and daughters of the Vietnam War. Yo, I'm calling all the aborigines into the city. I'm calling all who got a clue about who the enemy. If that ain't you, then you the fool who be falling for anything. And it's necessary that we hook y'all in by any means. Push your revolutionary status. It matters that we only recruit the very baddest. I make a military out the children of the corn.